Is on arithmetic sequences. Arithmetic means that we are going to be adding or subtracting. So I'll put that right here at the top, adding or subtracting. And sequences means like a list of numbers. Okay? Common difference is the first vocab term that you should be aware of. And this means if this is the difference between any two terms. So I'll just say the difference between any two consecutive terms. And we will figure out what that is in the first example. Finally, what are terms? Terms are the numbers in the sequence. So if we think of, for example, the even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, who do we appreciate? Each one of these numbers is a term. So that we would call a sub 1, and this one we would call a sub 2, and so on and so forth, all the way down the sequence. If we want to talk about some term way down the line that we want to just describe in general terms, we call it a sub n. One other thing, I'm going to try to make your life a little bit easier, and I'm going to talk about the term that comes before the first term. I call this one a sub 0. The book does not do this. I think it makes writing the functions a little bit smoother and easier and quicker. So in this case, our a sub 0 would be the term before that, and we notice that there's a pattern here of going up by 2. So if I go down by 2, I get to 0 in this case. Careful, not every 0 term will be 0, but this is something that we will be looking for. Make a note of that. Example 1 says, find the common difference. Okay, we've got to look for that difference between any two consecutive terms, and then we need to find a sub 5, a sub 6, a sub 7. And you will see in our first problem here that we have the first 4 terms. So we have to figure out what's happening in this sequence, and then figure out what is that difference, and then find the next 3 terms. All right, if I look at 28 and 23 and I subtract those two numbers, I get the same number when I do it between 23 and 18 and 13. In this one here, be careful that you add a negative in front of that. The difference in this case is I'm going down by 5 every time. All right, so you could say, for example, 23 minus 28 gives me negative 5. Don't answer this as 5, because that would mean this sequence is going up, not down. All right, taking 13, subtracting 5 from that, we get 8, 3, and then our 7th term would be negative 2. And here's another example, another sequence. This one involves some decimals. We can see we start at 6, go to 5.25. Again, I'm looking to see what the difference is between each of these, which means I am subtracting the latter from the former. Again, I see this goes down, so I'm going to put a negative in front there. And it doesn't go down quite by 1. I'm going down by 3/4, or I'm going down by 0.75 every time. You could check this on your calculator and take 4.5 minus 0.75. I think you'll get 3.75. Once you check that in the sequence, then go ahead and write down that is your difference. And then to find the next 2 terms, we're going to subtract that from, this again is the 4th term. So to get the 5th term, we're going to subtract another 0.75, so we get 3. Again, I'm going to subtract it again, and we get 2.25, and one last time and we get 1.5. All right, last example. Here they want us to write a rule. I'm going to highlight that thought there. The rule means to write the equation or the function, as it were. Okay, and we're going to start off our equation instead of normally like we've done y equals in the past, or f of x equals as if it were a function. We're going to start off our sequence with a and then any term. We're going to put an n as a subscript. Make sure that n is small and it's below the a, kind of like you do powers in math. This is called a subscript. Again, the first thing we're going to do in this sequence as we look at it here is look for a common difference. In this case, it looks like I'm going up by 7. If you take your calculator, again, subtract 5 minus -2, I think that yields 7 every time we jump up this sequence. All right, how do you write the rule out? Well, we're going to write it out exactly like we wrote out our old equations, in that we're going to have something times a variable plus something. In this case, the first thing is going to be the common difference, the multiplier, instead of the slope. And the b value is going to be my starting value. So this is going to be a sub 0. Be careful, not a sub 1. All right, so we see our common difference immediately in this problem is 7. So I say 7 times, now I don't put x because x is not the variable we're using with sequences. We typically use the letter n. Then we're going to add on the 0th term, which again is not this one here because this is a sub 1. We need to jump back to see what's the first term or the term before that one. And if you subtract 7 from 9, I think we get -16. So I'm going to come over here and write then my starting value when n was 0 is -16. Okay? So again, here's my common difference. Here is what we call a sub 0. All right, hopefully that works out for you as you work through your worksheet. Good luck.